There are only two ways of getting to Cabo Polonio, and this is one of them. The other way is a cart without wheels, drawn by 4 horses, and that's strictly for the tourists who come here in summer. For men with a job to do, this truck is the only answer. Cabo Polonio is in Uruguay and is situated some 300 kilometers to the east of Montevideo, the capital. Although it does get a seasonal influx of tourists, its permanent year-round population is very small, a mere handful of men. Most of these men do a fair amount of fishing, but that's not their main occupation, and this is certainly not a fishing trip. These are the Loberos, and they're going out now to hunt their quarry, which lives on 3 small islands off the coast. And these are the Lobos, scientifically known as Arctocephalus australis, or southern fur seal. Strictly speaking, these animals belong to the same family as the circus sea lion, but like true seals, they have a sleek outer coat which is highly prized by the fur trade. There are more than 250,000 seals on these 3 islands alone, and every year, several thousand of them fall victim to the Loberos. There's no finesse in the killing. The animals are simply clubbed to death. In the opinion of many animal lovers, it's a butchery that should be stopped. Certainly, a seal hunt is no place for the squeamish. The main center of Uruguay's sealing industry is further down the coast, nearer to Montevideo, on the famed Isle of Seals, the Islas de Lobos, where nearly 500,000 animals are in permanent residence. Here no boat trips are needed because the seals share their home with the men who hunt them. Since the hunt is only allowed at certain times of the year, the life of a lobero alternates between short bursts of frenzied activity and long periods when there's nothing else to do but mend nets or play cards. The controversy over the morality of their trade isn't something the Loberos worry about. As far as they're concerned, it's a way of earning a living in an area which doesn't exactly offer up opportunities on a plate. On Seal Island itself, the hunting is better organized than elsewhere. There's no indiscriminate clubbing on the rocks. The animals are merely rounded up here. Once a good part of the herd is under control, it's driven off up the hill to be slaughtered. The most obvious difference between these animals and a true seal is the speed at which they move. True seals are slow and clumsy on land, whereas these, like sea lions, have longer rear limbs, which enable them to lift their bodies clear off the ground in a loping sort of a run, which can be surprisingly fast over short distances. Urged on by the loberos, the animals head straight for the stockade. For most of them, it will be a one-way journey. Seals have been hunted in the South Atlantic for centuries. The earliest recorded catch was in 1820 by an Argentinian vessel which landed 13,000 fur seal skins. It was a lucrative trade, and the fat profits gave rise to greedy overexploitation. In the 2 years following the Argentinian landings, more than 1.5 million animals were killed in the South Atlantic grounds alone. By the end of the 19th century, their numbers had been so reduced that closed seasons had to be introduced to protect them from extinction. Nowadays, females are totally protected, and only immature males of a certain age and size can be legally slaughtered. Once the animals are inside the stockade, the process of selection begins. The main problem is how to catch them. Whether he knows it or not, this male is big enough to be safe, but not this one. This animal was brought to the slaughtering posts by mistake. Presumably it was a female, and so, after a brief hesitation, the loberos decided to set it free again. For this one, there was no escape. After the killing, the bodies are dragged to one side to be cut up on the spot. From now on, what was once an animal becomes merely a part of an industrial process. After the flippers have been cut off, the precious skin is removed. The skin is then taken to be washed in seawater. This does more than just wash off the blood. It also helps to preserve the skins until further processing can be carried out. The carcasses are not used for meat, but they're valuable nonetheless. Before being thrown out, they're put into special vats and boiled. The process yields a rich oil, which when further refined is used in the manufacture of soap and paints. It's worth 60 US cents a pound. The skins, meanwhile, are scraped clean of fat with special curved knives. It's all done in the island's own processing plant. After scraping, the skins are rubbed with coarse salt to preserve them. The Loberos themselves receive the equivalent of 35 cents for each animal killed, but the finished pelt is worth an average of $35. With something like 16,000 animals killed every year, the trade is worth up to $500,000 to Uruguay. Once they've been salted, the pelts are spread out and sprinkled with a final layer of salt before being carefully rolled up, ready for packing. The rolled pelts are packed into barrels, and that's the last that the island's Loberos see of them. Some will be cured on the mainland, the rest will be exported to the United States for curing there. Having started out on the back of a male seal, the pelts usually end up on the back of a human female, and very elegant they look too. But just how proud the girl is to wear them probably depends on how much she knows of how they got there.